Hey guys, it's Lumen. In this video, I'll be reviewing the highly anticipated Monster Hunter collab with my thoughts on only the top rarity. So for this video, it's just going to be the top rarity. I will cover the middle rarity and the bottom rarity in a different video. This is going to be a long one because there's a lot of forms and a lot of things to cover. So sit tight, get your popcorn. It's going to be a long one. The info that is displayed in this video comes from Product, your one-stop shop for all translated news from the JP server. I highly encourage you guys to check out the website as it has become a mainstay for me in keeping up with the news. I, along with other players, also write articles occasionally on the blog section of the website known as PDX Academy, so do check that out from time to time. Okay, first up we have Amatsu. So Amatsu is best known, well, in terms of his base form, right? So all of the top rarity cards in the collab have a base form and 2 equipped forms. In terms of Amatsu's base form, he's best known for his gargantuan HP stat. Like, he has 10,000 HP, and it was buffed too. So before it was like 9,000, now it's 10,546 HP. That is absolutely ridiculous, and more importantly, it'll bolster the health of any team that he goes on to. Now, his active skill got buffed in that the cooldown reduced from 7 to 5. This is nice because I honestly like Amatsu's active because it unlocks the board and then it changes. It's like a cotton style orb change active, right? It changes one attribute to water and another attribute to heal, in this case dark to water and wood to heal. Now, what's great about it is it also converts hazards to water and heal. For example, jammer orbs get converted to water, and poison / mortal poison orbs get changed to heal. This is great because it's like an upgraded version of Cotton Active where you can also use it to remove hazards. It places less importance on having those hazard resist. As you know, you have Amatsu who will come up reasonably quickly to clear those hazards. So let's say you can't fit in full poison resist, that's okay. If you have like 40% and you have Amatsu, that might be good enough. It depends on the dungeon and your tolerance for that kind of thing. I personally just like having all the resist because it's, I don't know, I'm OCD, but it can provide some leeway in your team building. Now, in terms of his leader skill, he has 3x attack recovery for physical and dragon type. So right off the bat, I see the physical and dragon typing and I think to myself, in terms of leader skills, a lot of them contain passive typing restrictions, whether it's for an attribute, right? Like let's say, 2x HP for water. That's a passive attribute restriction. And then you have passive typing restrictions, such as 3x attack and recovery for physical and dragon type. Now, in general, I feel that having an attribute restriction is much more convenient and much more flexible than having a typing restriction, because sometimes it just doesn't fit in. Now, granted, water, there's a lot of physical and dragon, I think, so it's not that bad, but at the same time, it's less than ideal. And then he has 7x attack. He reduces damage taken by 50%, so it's a half shield, right? In other words, it effectively boosts your HP and recovery by 2x, but since it's a shield, it also protects you from gravities. And it increases combo by 2 when matching 2 or more water combos. Now, I look at this leader skill. It's 1x to HP, so it doesn't boost HP, and then you have 21x to water for attack, and then 3x recovery, right? Well, you have that physical and dragon typing restriction, right? I look at this, and to be honest, it sounds very similar to a card that was just released. And the card I'm talking about is Suraga Kambaru. She's a little bit different, but the gist of her leader skill is she has no HP multiplier, right? Like Amatsu, 16x attack, 3x recovery, a 60% shield. So it's a fatter shield. And she gets 2 extra combos when you match 2 or more water combos. The great thing for me about Kambaru is that she doesn't have that typing restriction. Amatsu is limited to physical and dragon type, whereas Kambaru is just water type. And to be honest, I prefer that a lot more, even though Amatsu has better attack multiplier on paper, because it's just more flexible to build around. Like trying to fit into a typing restriction is just more inconvenient. So it's just my preference. Maybe you have no problem and you want to use Amatsu, and that's fine. He's been buffed significantly, and I think he's pretty good now, but it's up to you. In terms of his awakenings, he got buffed so that now he has one more skill boost. He got an additional half second of time, so his finger was upgraded to fat finger. And then he got an additional 2 skill boosts, so a skill boost plus in his super awakenings. Now this is important, I guess, because now he can be an effective 4 skill boost card. And with transformation being everywhere right now, skill boosts are at a high, like just at a premium, you know? It's like there's nothing more valuable than skill boosts. It's really hard to compare awakenings, right? Like, oh, 7C is better than VDP. Well, they do different things, so you can't really like compare them. It's like comparing apples to oranges. But what I can say is that I think skill boost, if not the most important, then one of the most important awakenings right now in the game. And so the skill boost plus SA really helps. Now, I look at it, and another option you could take along is the 7C. He has a 7C SA and he can become a 4 7C card. But the thing is, having 4 7C really means he has 3 7C with a doubled attack stat. And if you look at his attack stat, it's very pitiful. It's just 1600 attack. With 4 7C, it becomes respectable damage, but not as much as you would anticipate. Like, let's say you have like Fagan Rai or Ryume, they have much higher attack stats, so the damage is tremendous. But with Amatsu, since his attack stat sucks, it's like you use 1 7C to double his attack stat, and then you get a triple 7C. So yeah, on paper it looks really cool. You see the 4 awakenings, you get excited. In reality, it's just not as much damage as you would anticipate. Moving on, we have his first equip, Heaven Render, and all the equips and the base have the same stats, right? So the equip also has 10,000 HP, which is actually kind of cool when you think about inheriting it on color. Like, that's a lot of HP you can translate. But more importantly, you look at the equip and the awakenings, and Heaven Render, Imatsu's first equip, the awakenings, it got 1 Recover Bind. And to me, Recover Bind is interesting because on paper it sounds really cool and can be useful against monsters like the ogres, for example. In reality though, I've never seen a use for it. I don't bother. I feel like it's unwieldy, especially because you have to match a row of heal orbs. But it certainly depends on your taste and whether you feel like you could effectively utilize it or not. Either way, I think the equip is still, I feel like it's underrated because in Shura 2 and Ultra 2, there's a lot of emphasis on having HP, right? Like reaching that 150k HP mark. And the double team HP is really good. And it also has an L, which is great utility. Just having an L is really useful, especially like in Ultra 2, where Gillies has his preemptive Lock Skyfall. And then, what is it? You have regular Shura 2, where you have the preemptive Lock Skyfall there as well. And having just an L is really, really good utility because locks are quite dangerous versus the teams that run Shura 2 and all Shura 2. So good utility. Maybe it's kind of a waste. I don't know. Maybe it's underwhelming, but I think it's okay. I think it's underrated, and I've considered using it for certain builds at times. Now, the second equip is probably the one that people value much more highly, and that's because it only got the stat buff, right? So now it has 10,000 HP too, but the second equip is really strong already because it's an effective 3 skill boost, right? You have 1 skill boost in the equip, and then you have a 2-turn haste in the active on a 13-turn cooldown, and then you also have Cloud and double team recovery. It's just great value. Remember, skill boosts are at a premium, so anything that can augment your skill boost in an equip as well is really nice, and so Harvest Lute is great in that regard. Next, we have Massacre Demon Diablos. Now, Diablos was infamous in the days where you had Anubis x Diablos, but now he's kind of fallen from grace. He has fallen from that top dog status, so now he's more of a historical relic. Anyway, he got some stat buffs, so now he's at 5.3k HP, which is slightly low, but he's at a respectable 3,462 attack, so that's cool. His active got buffed, and before it was a full board enhance, you had a 25% true gravity, and then you had a 1-turn spike, 2x spike for Dragon and Devil. Now, it's a 5x attack spike, which is a lot more significant. Now, you might be thinking, well, the active still sucks. And in most cases, you would be right. This is a really powerful active, but it's really overkill. There's very few places you would really need it. And the cooldown is ridiculously long. So if you don't need the active, it's dead weight. And you can't even inherit over it properly because the cooldown is so long. But it is strong when you can use it. I think for me personally, I think its most notable usage is if you use it on the Manoas, where you can grab them, you have a big spike, and you can deal massive damage. So it's a really good finishing active, right? Like you go into evil Manoas and, I mean, like let's say you pair it with something like Giga Gear, which is actually in this collab, right? You have Giga Gear, which does a 35% gravity, and then you have attribute absorption void, right? So you do that, and then you do Diablos, and then you grab it. So anything that was there is now down to 50%, right? If you're G Manoa, you hit the super resolve, and if you aren't going against G Manoa, then it's down to only 40% of their original health, right? 40%. I can math, right? Okay. And then the thing is, once you get to super resolve, they don't like G Manoa doesn't even trigger her Fujin shield yet. So then you have a 5x attack spike to dish out the rest of the damage, and at that point I think you should be able to kill. So I guess it's really good for that niche one turn kill setup. Maybe it's a little bit overkill, but that's what I was visualizing when I saw this active. Now leader skill wise, of course, Diablos is famous as a leader. He has a 7x6 board, right? 9x attack and reduce damage by 35% instead of 25%. So it's a bigger shield, and that's always good. More survivability is better. And then 8 armor combos for that shield, by the way. And then you have 2x attack and recovery. Before it was 1.5. Now it's 2x attack and recovery and increased combo by 2 and matching 5 or more colors. So the rainbow restriction is a little bit Before he was just match 8 or more combos and people were in awe because he was like the blank slate 7x6 lead. Like there's no restriction. You could run anything on him. But Rainbow Claws just does throw a little wrench in things, but it is what it is. I think it's great. He has 18x attack and 2x recovery and a bigger shield. The multipliers are buffed so that he's a little bit better. I don't know if he's that much better, but he's not bad. I mean, he's better than nothing, and his multipliers have been buffed so that he can still be relevant. And I'm saying that because he's not really relevant, but he can still be relevant. Let's just put it that way. Okay, moving on to Awakenings. So the skill boosts were condensed, and now he has an additional Fat Finger. So he has 2 Fat Fingers, 2 seconds of move time before it just 1. And then in his Super Awakenings, he got a 10C. And I really like that because he's a 7x6 lead. So including a 10C is the most potent damage awakening you can find. And because he's a 7x6 lead, 10C is not terribly difficult for him if you're leading him. So he can be a 7/7 10C card with card break and a skill charge. Skill charge is a little weird to work around, but this is really, it's a lot better than before. I mean, he's a lot stronger, so I think it's pretty cool. I don't know if I would really use him as a damage stick because the active is like, it's such dead weight, So I don't know, but it's pretty cool. He can do a lot of damage. Okay, moving on to his equips. First equip. Of course, all of them received the stat buff, so the equips are now 5.3k HP, 3,462 attack. Main buff was the equip also got a Healer Killer Awakening, which is cool. It's great damage situationally, but I don't think it really changes much about it. The one thing I will say is that the equip can be used for that kill setup, right? Because now you're inheriting the equip and you just inherit that really long active with the 25% true grab and the spike and the enhance. So it can be used for that, but overall it doesn't really change much in my opinion. And then of course you have the second equip, gets the stat buffs, and then in its active, it used to have the 500,000 triple ping, and that was used to button a 10. And now it's a 1 million true damage triple ping. Cool. I'm not sure if there's any application for it, like any specific application. It's just cool, great. Maybe you can button like some super resolve like Alceone. I don't know. I don't have any idea of what to use it for. Next, we have Thunderlord Zinogre. So Zinogre, his active got buffed, so now it's a 2-turn Fujin plus Adabsorb. So in general, 2 turn is better than 1 turn, but the main appeal I see is in Ultra 1, because Shura 2 doesn't, or Ultra 2 doesn't have any Fujin shield. So Fujin actives are generally really bad in there, right? So Ultra 1, you have this, and I like this because it gives you a lot of cushion when you're trying to kill something like G-Manoa. You know, 2 turns to kill is a lot easier than 1 turn to kill. So I like it. I like the cushion from it. And then of course you have the board unlock and then the 5 attribute board change. So it doesn't make heals, but it creates a rainbow color board, right? Fire, water, wood, light, dark. It's a nice buff. There's not much to really say except that 2 turns is better, and it's more convenient when you're killing, you know, boss like Fujin spawns such as the G-Manoa. 2-turn Fujins back in the day was really novel when you were going against something like AA3, because you had Awoken Machine Athena, and then you had Durga back to back, and if you had 2-turn Fujin, you could kill both of them really quickly with only 1 active, right? So there's that, but nowadays it's not as important, I would say. So it's just a nice quality of life improvement. Leader skill wise, it got buffed immensely in terms of shielding, right? So 3x attack and reduces damage by 50%. Before it was 25%, so 50% when matching 4 or more combos. I mean, 4 or more combos is pretty simplistic, so cool. It used to be 5, now it's 4. So maybe if you have them player skill issues, it's a little bit easier. And then 8x attack, deal 1 fixed damage, so it's auto full up, and reduces damage taken by 30%. It would be 25% before as well. So Zinogre had 2 25% shields, separate effects, right? So by itself it was 43.75%, and then if you had another Zinogre, it was 68.64%. I'm trying to do the math in my head. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. And then of course that 30% shield is from 4 or more colors, so it has that rainbow claws, right? So overall it deals more damage, right? Before, I mean, it deals slightly more damage, 24x. Before it was like 22.5, and then no recovery multiplier, no health multiplier, just big shields. And on its own, Zinogre has a 65% shield, if I math that out right. Yeah, 65% shield. That's actually ridiculous. On its own, 65% damage reduction. Together, right, it's a 87.75% shield, which translates into 8x effective HP and recovery. That's actually just ridiculous to me. 8x effective. Oh my goodness. That's crazy. So all in all, I think it's really cool, really awesome. I mean, the rainbow claws is a little uncomfortable. Might not always be consistent, but he's a lot more of an interesting lead, and his leader skill multipliers have been buffed to relevant. So it's comparable to other leaders such as Sena. Now Sena, of course, is a different world, right? Sena, they're very different leads, but I'm just comparing the multipliers and it's comparable. So that's cool. Moving on, we have the first equip. First equip used to have SBR half second of time, so little finger, and 2 poison res, and now it has 2 poison res and 2 blind res. So that's cool. It's a quad resist equip. You know, it throws me back because it looks like Aerith, right? And back in the day when quad resist equips were first introduced, there was like a holy trinity, right? You had Aerith from Final Fantasy with the double poison, double blind. You had Shiro from Fate, who had the double blind, double jammer, and then you had Fatalis from this Collab Monster Hunter, who had double poison and double jammer. So you had the holy trinity. If you had all 3, then you could just slap on an Odysseus equip, and you had full resist coverage. And nowadays it's like kind of because you have super resist and whatnot, but it just throws me back. Otherwise, it's whatever. His second equip, the active skill got buffed so that the cooldown was reduced from 16 to 14, which is nice. And then you have a 2, so the active itself is a 2-turn spike, where it increases attack by 60% for each enhanced light awakening skill on the team. So it's an additive 0.6x attack per light row awakening. And I guess that's cool. The thing is, it creates 6 light orbs. And for me, I look at that and I think, if it was create a row of light orbs, that would have been a game changer, because that would have been a great active. It's just you scale with rows, so you bring a lot of rows, but also you have it creates a road to swipe off of, which would be amazing. So maybe I'm just dreaming too much here, but that would be the game changer in my opinion. The Equip Awakenings got buffed, so now it has 3 light rows instead of 2, and then of course there's the Fat Finger and the Unbindable, but 3 light rows instead of 2. That's more damage, so it's good, but yeah. Moving on, we have Nergigante. So Nergigante got some stat buffs, so now it's 5.8k HP, which is a little on the low side, and then 3k attack, which is nice. Active skill wise, it got buffed, so first cooldown reduction from 10 to 7. Secondly, the effect of the Dark Orb Skyfall, so let me read it out. Change the far left column to Dark Orbs and change the far right column to Heal Orbs. So it's a double column generator, right? 1 dark, 1 heal. Now, of course, heal column is Fua, so it technically creates a swipeable Fua, right? And then this part is the most important part. For 7 turns, Dark Orbs are more likely to appear by 15%. So before it was 4 turns, now it's 7 turns, and the cooldown is also 7 turns. Nergigante now has a self-sustaining active that keeps up Dark Orb Skyfall at 15% boosted forever, right? As long as it's not delayed, as long as it's not skill bound, you can indefinitely maintain a 15% enhanced Dark Orb Skyfall. And that's just ridiculous to me. I mean, holy cow, 15%. So in terms of Skyfall tiers, right? Like, oh, tiers, right? Tier list. Oh my god. Anyway, in terms of Skyfall effects, there used to be really popular 99 turn enhanced Skyfall, right? The most notable, I think, back in the day for me was Hiei from the Yu Yu Hakusho collab. Hiei was for Dark Orb Skyfall, and he was a really popular pick on Ina Phenom teams. I know, it was a really long time ago, but Ina Phenom teams, Hiei was really popular because, one, Ina Phenom is a Dark Row lead, right? A Dark Row team. So the orb consumption of Dark Row leads is quite significant. So you want more Dark Orbs, as many as you can. And enhancing the Skyfall meant that you have more Dark Orbs in general, right? So it's really useful in that sense. You also had the Dark Red coverage from that. So it had an additional Dark Red coverage. And Ina Phenom had this rainbow requirement. So you also wanted the red coverage as well. So overall, it was just really great. But more importantly, I'm losing track of things. The 99 turn Skyfall only boosted the Dark Orb Skyfall by 7%, right? Of course, 99 turns is basically for the length of the dungeon. So in reality, it was a permanent Dark Orb Skyfall, disregarding enemy buff dispels. However, Nergigante is indefinitely, right? Now, of course, you can't inherit anything over Nergigante. Like, for example, with Hiei, you can inherit something over Hiei, and then once you use this active, you don't really need to cast it again, so you can use the inherit if it charges up, right? With Nergigante, you can't really do that, but the Dark Orb Skyfall is at 15% boosted rate, and you get a dark column and a heal column every 7 turns. So this is actually kind of amazing for me. I think it's really interesting. I don't know if I will use it per se, but yeah, it's interesting. Okay, in terms of awakenings, Nergigante didn't get any changes to his, her, I don't know the genders, but I'm gonna just assume he, and if it's a she, I really can't tell. So yeah, please don't judge me too harshly. Anyway, Nergigante, he didn't get any changes to his awakenings, but Nergigante did get a 10C in his Super Awakening selection. So this is really cool because Nergigante already had a 10C, and so if you have the 10C Super Awakening, you have double 10C, and that's a lot of damage provided that you can activate it. Other than that, not much really to talk about. His Super Awakening selection is great. He has 7C as well, although since he already has a 10C, I don't think 7C would be the popular pick, because if you already have a 10C and you're using them, then you probably have a way to activate it, and so double 10C is just strictly better in that sense. The other pick that really is attracted to me is the double skill boost, the skill boost plus for 4 skill boosts, because transformation cards, you need as many skill boosts as you can get. With double 10C, it just reminds me of the other double 10C cards, like you have Rajang from this collab, double 10C, and also has a bunch of wood orb enhance similar to Nergi's dark orb enhance, and then you have Gung-Ho Lakshmi from the Gung-Ho collab, double 10C, and a bunch of fire orb enhance. So very similar in that respect. In terms of leader skill, it got buffed, so the multipliers are now 25x attack. Before it was like just 16, and it's a damage reduction shield of 60% as opposed to 35%, which is pretty significant. The only problem is Nergigante is a 501E lead, and the shield is health conditional. So only when you're above 50% HP does the shield apply. If you go below, you're doomed, right? There's no shield. You're as naked as a baby. So yeah, it's a really bad leader skill. 501E is really outdated, but his active skill and his awakenings are interesting enough to catch my eye. Let's put it that way. They're interesting enough to catch my eye. I think he can be really cool. I'm not sure where I would use him, but I think he'd be really cool. Moving on to his equip. His first equip, Nergal Crusher. So before, it was a skill boost and 1 dark OE. And because of that, it was reviled because it was so bad, right? Now, it was the last run, it was buffed from 1 dark OE to 3. So now it's the skill boost plus 3 dark OE. Now, that equip has been popping up more and more as skill boosts and OE have become increasingly popular, right? Skill boost because of transform, and OE because you need to stack as much damage as you can to kill spawns that are just beyond damage cap at this point. So of course the fire variant, you have Super 1 from Common Rider, right? Skill boost 3 fire OE and a blind res. The blind res is surprisingly useful. You have the water version of Virgil from DMC. You have the wood version, Japan exclusive Deku from My Hero Academia. So that's kind of a rip for NA. You have the light version, Raw Necklace, which is accessible to very many people. I think it's great in that sense. And then of course you have the dark version, Nergigante from Monster Hunter Collab. The thing is, now he has 4 dark OE instead of 3. So he has an upgrade and advantage in that sense. His second equip didn't really get anything, just the stat boost, but also the inherited active is reduced from 12 to 10 turns maximum. It's a 4-turn shield, a 4-turn half shield, so 50% damage reduction for 4 turns, and then a dark row generation. So I think it's cool. Could be useful for farming, but it's very niche. The cooldown reduction is nice, but it's very niche, so it's not really that impactful. Moving on, we have Fatalis, the original owner of the Holy Trinity equip, where a double poison, double jammer. And so Fatalis got a stat boost. Now he has 5,600 HP, which is again nice, but it's still on the low side. Active skill, the cooldown was reduced from 10 to 7 turns, which is always nice. And then it also gained the 2x move time. So the active itself is really good in that it's a swipeable L. It creates an L of dark orbs. It unlocks all orbs, creates 2 dark L's. In the top right corner, there's an L, and bottom left corner, there's an L. And then you have the 2x dark attack spike, which is nice, but it's situationally useful, I guess. I don't know. It's not the main appeal, right? It's the dark L generation. And the move time is also not part of the main appeal. It doesn't really change much about it. It's just nice to have, I guess. And if anything, it's worse because it's an additional effect, so it makes the active slower, right? So in that sense, it might be bad. This cooldown reduction is always nice though. 7 turns, that's nice. Leader skill wise, it got buffed. 7x attack and 2.1x HP for dark attribute. Lately, Gung Ho has, before it used to be just increments of 0.5, right? 1x HP, 1.5x HP, 2x HP, 2.5x HP. Now they're just going wild with all these random numbers like 2.1, 1.6, 2.3, etc, etc. Like, they're just doing what they want to do. Nothing much I can say except it makes the math a little harder to do in my head. Increases move time by 5 seconds. This is going to be nice in a little bit. 3x attack and recovery, and reduce damage taken by 25% when matching any 5 orbs in an L shape. So first of all, this is really nice because before it was just 5 dark orbs in an L shape, right? So you're just restricted to dark. And that was really annoying because it was orb hungry and it was an uncomfortable pattern. Just really difficult, right? The L shape is very awkward. So if you have Ryume is a really strong leader, and his only pitfall is the L shape match, right? Which makes him a little difficult to work around. Which is why when I look at the increased orb movement time by 5 seconds, this is really amazing to me because it really just helps alleviate the player skill issue concerns when matching an L. So this is cool. He's very flexible. You can match any L. So now you can match an L and then save Dark Orbs for like a VDP or something. So I think it's cool. I don't think it really resolves any problems though. Like if you got an auto flow or plus combo effect, I think that would have been more impactful, but as it stands, he's a really flexible L lead, similar to Ryume in some respects. But yeah, it's okay. I still think he sucks. I don't think I would ever use him, but better than before. Let's put it that way. His Awakenings, he didn't get any changes to Awakenings, and honestly, they suck because it's triple VDP and triple L. They don't synergize well. I don't really want to get into damage math, but they're not synergistic damage awakenings, so it sucks. But he got an additional 7C, which is a synergistic damage awakening. That's kind of cool, but overall it doesn't really change much of his awakening value per se. Okay, first equip, the Holy Trinity equip. It used to be double poison, double jammer. It also had an L, which was really valuable for, you know, just lock Skyfall resist. Like think of it as a pseudo resist in that regard. However, it's now a 5 resist equip with 3 poison and 2 jammer. So cool. Of course, equips like these, the value is a little bit less because of super resist, but overall it's just a nice improvement. Of course, his second equip, the active on the second equip, 2 turns no Skyfall. So it's an interesting one in my opinion because it has, I'll explain in a little bit, but 2 turns no Skyfall, 2 turns increase combo count by 3. It used to be only by 1. And then for 2 turns, 3x move time. That's nice, except maybe not because there's an additional effect. I don't know. And then for 2 turns, only fire, wood, dark, and heal orbs will appear. So this is one of the quad color Skyfall equips, right? Maybe not equips, but one of the quad color Skyfall actives that have become really popular in rankings because while it is RNG based, you can potentially get a lot of combos, and increasing your combo count has been very important for some rankings, right? So it makes it frustrating because it becomes a bunch of random, you know, it's just random chance, right? It's just an RNG fest, but they become really popular. The problem with this is it's a no Skyfall effect, so you don't get any Skyfall. So it really kills it off per se. Like you have Zelos and Jean, and those ones are really good. But this one is like, you know Skyfall, no point, right? Overall, I don't think the buff is that impactful. It's cool, not really that impactful. Awakening wise, it got an extra jammer resist. It's a Fua, tape, and now double jammer. That's a cool awakening combination. And if you need it, you need it. But it is what it is. It's nice improvement. Like I don't see any particular use, right, that makes it extremely relevant. It's just a nice improvement. Moving on, we have Yama Tsukami. Yama Tsukami got buffed, so his stats are now 9.7k HP, which is actually, we're talking about Amatsu, right? Amatsu 10k HP. Yama Tsukami's getting up there, right? 9.7k and almost 10,000 HP. And then attack stat is still pretty low, 2k attack. Active wise, it got a 1-turn Void active, which is cool, especially because it's not locked behind transform. 1 turn no Skyfall, unlock all orbs, so it got a board unlock, that's new. And then it has a bicolor. It's really nice because it's a new Void active, and those are really uncommon, so it's nice. All right, leader skill wise, it got a lot of reworks. 2x HP for wood, slightly reduced damage taken when matching 6 connected light orb. So the shield is completely based on matching 6 connected light, which is interesting because he's a wood leader. 24x attack and increases combo by 2 when matching 6 or more connected wood orbs at once. Now this is really cool because if you disregard the shield, right, like you just ignore it, this is a 24x wood row lead that also gives extra combos. That's actually a lot of damage, and I think it could be used for certain farming builds and whatnot. Like, especially because it has a Void shield too. Not a Void shield, it has a Void active too. Like, that also might be useful. So I think it could be a really interesting farming tool, farming lead. I'm not sure exactly how it would work, but you know what? At the end of the day, wood is even more busted than before. And wood has gotten so many great tools like Christmas Scarlet. You got the 3-roll Pemdra. Of course, it made you cry when you saw the 3-roll Pemdra because you're looking for the diamond one, but it's the only inheritable full wood board active, so it's good in that sense. Wood has just gotten even better and better at farming, and this is no exception. In terms of his awakenings, he got a 10C. If I remember correctly, Yama Tsukami had like double VDP and a 7C along with like Rose and some stuff, so 10C makes him more potent as a sub. He can now do double VDP 7C 10C. I think it's a little interesting because Tsukami, you know, he has the Void active, but he also has VDP in his Awakenings, and usually you choose between the two, right? Either you go with VDP or you go with Void. But having the combination is not necessarily bad. Sometimes you want to use the Void active, and sometimes you want to use the VDP. So it's whatever, right? Moving on, you have the equip. So first equip is Ancient Dragonwood Cannon. It got the stat buffs, like, you know, all the forms got the same stat buffs. And now it's a 3 wood row equip with skill boost and physical killer, as opposed to 2 wood rows. Now, physical killer, skill boost, all of them are really useful in Shura 2, Ultra 2, and then of course the 3 wood rows is better than 2. I don't even know. 3 is more than 2, and that's better in this context. In terms of his second equip, you have, it used to be a 5 resist equip, and that was cool because it had a 4-turn delay on it too. So when I was contemplating this, I was like, oh, that might be a useful equip in the future, like in the far future, right? I don't see it being used that much, but again, it could be used, right? And now it's a 6 resist equip. So now I was marveling over Fatalis. It's like, oh my god, quad resist, now it's 5 resist. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Well, this one is a 6 resist equip. 4 jammer, 1 blind, 1 poison. Absolutely ridiculous. Very strong, I guess. Although, again, with super resist, having all 3 resists on one equip is not ideal anymore. So more often, I think it's preferable to have a lot of the same resists on one equip. Moving on, we have Akantor. So Akantor got some stat buffs, 5.9k HP, a little bit on the low end, but okay. 3.6k attack, that's actually reasonable. Like, that's pretty high. Yeah, so his active got buffed, right? For 1 turn, reduced damage by 60%. So before, it did not have that effect. So gaining this shield effect is actually really nice for content like Shura 2 and Ultra 2, where the hits have become tremendous. You have ridiculous hits such as 600,000 from the Red Ogre when you trigger Super Resolve. You have 550,000. I think that's the Ultra 2 mount, 550,000 from Sun Quan on the first turn. Not preemptive, but, you know, 1 turn and then that much, you know, 550,000 hit. And then you have Gillies when you hit him below his 50% marker, right? He hits for like 650,000. I know in regular Shura 2 it's like 624,000, and now it's even more in Ultra 2. So you need a shield active is what I'm saying, and giving Akantor a shield effect makes him a lot more relevant in terms of current in-game content for NA. And then of course he has the board unlock, and then he has the firewood like dark quad color board change. The orb unlock is nice, and then the quad color board change is also nice for something like Okuni, right? Okuni creates full poison board, and you're kind of screwed if you encounter that. Okay, now you have leader skill buffs, where 5x attack can reduce damage by 50%, before it was 25%, when matching any 6 or more connected orbs. So before it was any 6 connected fire or dark orbs, not just any 6 connected orbs, which is mostly feasible on any given random board, considering that the only way you can't get that is when you have 5 of each color. Now, of course, if the enemy manipulates the board and you have like poisons or jammers, that really makes it a lot harder, but overall it should be consistent enough. And then you have 5x attack, deal 1 fixed damage, so autofua, and increase combo by 1 matching 3 or more colors. Now this is pretty significant because 3 or more colors is a lot more forgiving and a lot more consistent than 4 or more colors, which is what it was before. So I think overall Akantor is an interesting lead. You're probably gonna have to prioritize poison, jammer, blind, maybe not blind, but poison, jammer, resist. But I think he's an interesting lead. I think he could be a lot of fun. Maybe his multipliers aren't good enough for Shura 2, but I think you could have a lot of fun with him in Alt Shura 1 for sure. Awakening wise, his skill boosts were condensed. So he had 2 regular skill boosts, and now it's a skill boost plus. And then he got a red takoyaki on the side. In addition, his super awakenings also got another red takoyaki, so he can have 2 red takoyaki with super awakenings. But his Super Awakening selection is a little competitive with a VDP that could be very useful, with an extra skill boost that could be very valuable. Even Team HP has some merit, although I prefer to equip that rather than Super Awakening that. So yeah, it's nice. It's a nice set of Super Awakenings. Red Takoyaki. I love the Awakening. I'm a bit biased. I love it, but yeah, a lot of great Super Awakenings. Overall, just very nice buffs. Makes them a lot more relevant in current content. Of course, first equip, you have Akantor Mutilator. It used to be Team HP, Team Recovery, and Triple Blind. Now it also has an additional solitary poison resist. I look at this equip and it reminds me of, I call it Kanken Rekka. I definitely butchered that pronunciation, but it's the Kamen Rider Saber equip, where it's double Team HP and Triple Blind. In general, that's preferable because you need more HP for sure too, but this is also nice improvement. It could be useful in team building where you need that one more poison resist, but I don't know, it just really depends. And then the second equip, its active got buffed so that now it's a 9-turn cooldown instead of 11-turn. It's a 2-turn shield and a board replace, which is very generic and very bland, very simple, but could be surprisingly useful, especially, because you need shield against Gillies, against Red Ogre, against Sun Quan, possibly. So, not bad. I'm not sure if I would ever use it, but it's nice, right? And then, of course, the equip also gains a team HP. I mean, the equip in general, it looks really funky, but it's actually quite strong, in my opinion, for certain builds that need the negative recovery. The best example I can think of is, I was discussing it a lot, like a couple months ago. Best example I can think of is Uriel HP control builds. It's very specific. Just know that the negative recovery can actually be a boon sometimes, rather than a demerit. Velkhana is, so he got stat buffs, right? Very low HP at 4.6k, but a pretty high attack stat at 3.7. Active got buffed, so it was 3 turns of 3x attack, 3 turns of 3x recovery. It did not have the recovery, so it got buffed in that sense. And then 3 turns of 25% Water Orb Skyfall. Now, of course, this isn't consistently available, right? For example, Nergigante is only 15%, but it can be up all the time, right? Or Hiei is up all the time. The effect is up all the time. This is only for 3 turns, but for those 3 turns, you're gonna be raining water orbs like never before. It's actually like the difference between a sprinkle of rain and like a downpour. The cooldown didn't change, which is kind of sad. I would wish the cooldown was reduced to something like 11, but it is what it is. Leader skill wise, it got buffed so that right now it's 2x HP for water, 10x attack when 4 more combos, up to 22x for 10 combos, reduced damage taken by 50% when recovering more than 100,000 HP from heal orbs. Now this is incredibly significant because he is now a 4x effective HP lead on his own, which means if you have 2 Velkhanas, you can have 16x effective health. That's ridiculous. I mean, the only other lead like that in the game is Mikage. And Mikage needs to match like 3 dark combos and he needs to transform and do all these things. And so for me, Velkhana is really interesting in that sense. Of course, it is pretty tricky because you need to recover healing. You need to recover 100,000 HP from heal orbs, and Velkhana doesn't have a recovery multiplier, so it's awkward in that sense. Maybe you pair with something like Norza, something like Miyata, something like Itagi Senjokahara or Suraga Kambaru. Even Amatsu could be in play. In terms of awakenings, it got an extra half second, right? So its finger got upgraded to Fat Finger, and the Super Awakenings, it gained a double skill boost. It gained a skill boost plus. So that's really cool. Now can be 4 skill boosts or BDP 777C. Depends on where you want to go. Other than that, I think it's a great addition to his Super Awakening selection. Of course, it's a little bit frustrating because you have to now roll amongst 4 Super Awakenings instead of 3. But if it's a good Super Awakening, you just gotta live with it. In terms of equips, his first equip, it got the stat buffs, right? The equips and the base all have the same stats, so any stat boost to the base results in stat boost the equip and to the second equip, right? To both the equips. Awakening wise, it used to be heal orb enhance and cloud resist, and now it has an additional 2 water orb enhance. That's really nice. Second equip got a buff to the active where it has a 4x spike. So it's 1 turn, 0x recovery. And then it also gained a 4x attack spike for water attribute. It was not previously there before. This is important because if you look at it, it has double column generation of water on the left side, double column generation of water on the right side, which can be used to trigger combo orb awakening. I think it's cool because it really places a note of finality, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna swipe with this active, and you know, I have 20 orbs to swipe minimum, and I have a 4x attack. You're probably gonna die. That's what it sounds like to me. So, cool. I'm not sure if there's anywhere useful where I'd be like, oh my god, I really needed this 4x spike for this one build. I can't really recall anything like that, but it's nice, you know? Awakening wise, it has the combo orb, which makes sense. It synergizes very well with the active itself. And then it used to have 2 water orb in hands and now has 3. So cool. Alatreon got some, you know, stat buffs. Most of them got stat buffs. HP is at 6,000. Not bad. Still a little low for my taste. Attack is at 3,000. And recovery got boosted to 500. And honestly, I laugh at the recovery boost, but it's better than nothing. Active skill wise, it unlocks all orbs, changes light and jammer to fire, changes dark and poison to water. So the hazard changes are the new parts, right? That's why I was emphasizing them. That's new. Before it was just change light to fire, now it's light and jammer to fire. And then before it was dark to water, and now it's dark and poison to water. And the cooldown has been reduced from 6 to 5. So this is cool. Again, it's like that cotton style active, except it doesn't generate heals, but rather it generates fire and water. Leader skill wise, it's a 2 point. So before it was 2x HP for fire, 2x recovery for water. Now it's 2.2, right? Again, with the weird increments of multipliers. It's up to gung-ho, right? 2.2x all stats for fire and water. Before it was separate, right? So it was 2x HP for fire and 2x recovery for water. So you wanted cards with both, but now you don't need both. In fact, you only need one of fire or water. Makes it a lot more flexible is what I'm saying. 2.2x all stats for fire and water, increases move time by 5 seconds. Very nice for the player skill issues. 9x attack and slightly reduced damage taken when matching 4 or more connected fire or water orbs. So it's a very simplistic lead with relatively good multipliers, right? 2.2x, so what? 4.84x HP and recovery, and then you have a 19.8x attack for fire or water, almost 400x attack. Let's just put it that way. All right, awakening wise, it had one normal skill boost that was increased to a double skill boost, so effectively one more skill boost. And then in its super awakenings, it also got another skill boost plus, so it can be 4 skill boosts. I think that's the best option here. Of course, you could go with an additional devil killer, god killer, or a VDP. Up to you, but I think the double skill boost is probably the best pick. For its first equip, we have Altheos Zodiarch, and honestly, for both the equips, the Altheos Zodiarch and the Altheos Altrusa, all they got was the step ups. No changes whatsoever. If I want to talk about their uses, I haven't really seen Altheos Zodiarch, the first equip, being used, but the second equip is really popular because there's a lot of fire OE for damage, and it has the coveted 2-turn fusion plus add absorb void, which again is very useful for something like G Manila. Nothing else really changed, so nothing else much to say. Safi'jiiva, who was released brand new last time, got some stat boost, so now it's at 8.5k HP and 2.5k attack. The attack is a lot more respectable because before it was like a 2000 attack, and that's just too low. Active wise, it now unlocks all orbs. So before it didn't have the unlock, and then changes top row to fire and left column to fire, right? And this is amazing to me because it's like you can trigger combo orb off swiping this orb generation formation, and it's on a 6-turn cooldown. It's actually pretty insane because you generate 10 fire orbs off a 6-turn cooldown, which just pound for pound sounds really, really strong. I think like even single row generation actives is like you could have it at 7 turns. This is 6 turns, even has an unlock. Although again, if you're swiping and you want speed, maybe the unlock is undesirable. But again, you have 10 orbs, right, in a fixed location on 6-turn cooldown. That's ridiculous in terms of farming. Leader skill wise, it got boosted, so 2.5x HP And then 0.25x recovery, so no recovery, but lots of HP. 22x attack, it used to be 16, and slightly reduced damage taken when matching 6 or more connected fire orbs. So it's a fire roll lead, and now it also has a shield, which is great because before it didn't have a shield. So what can I say? It's a 2 point, like before when it was released, it didn't have a shield, and you would use Kuro Yuria, and you had to really be careful around enemy gravities, right? But now as a shield, I just feel like 2.5x HP leads are very gimmicky. I never really liked them. I have Safi'jiiva, right? I never messed around with the leader skill. I felt like it was too gimmicky. So maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm weird, but it is what it is. Awakenings wise, it had its bind resist awakenings condensed. Its normal skill boost got converted into a skill boost plus, so it's an effective skill boost addition. And with the extra awakening slot, it got an SBR, or resistance skill bind or skill bind resist. And I think that's cool because before it didn't have SBR. And normally, you know, you expect most of your cards to have SBR, so when they don't, you have to be really careful to make sure you still have 100% coverage. Now, what's interesting is that it also has an SBR in its Super Awakening selection, so you could have a double SBR if you chose, but the other Awakening selections are pretty nice too. You have VDP, so it could be 4 VDP. I never like that. I like it when a card has 1 VDP and a bunch of 7Cs or 10Cs, but that's just me. And then it also gained, so this is the new Super Awakening, it gained a skill boost plus, so it could be 4 skill boosts effectively. It's really cool. I think the active buff is the most important thing for me, but he's a better leader now than he was before, and maybe it's just less gimmicky and a bit easier to run as a lead. I don't know. I've never tried. Okay, moving on to the first equip, we have Safi's Shatterblade, and that was 3 rows, right? 3 fire rows, a dragon killer, and now it has a combo orb awakening, which is nice because it carries the active of the base form, which is the unlock all orbs, and carries the top row to fire and left column to fire. So it has a natural combo orb, fixed orb generation, and having the combo orb in the awakening is also really convenient. Overall, it's a nice equip when you need it. Let's just put it that way. And then you have the second equip, Safi's Drag Shield, where the active was for 2 turns. Before it was for 1 turn, now it's for 2 turns. Increase attack by 25% for each Dark Orb Enhanced Awakening on the team. Change all orbs to Dark and Heal. And the cooldown is pretty long, and I don't know if you would really need this, but it is quite nice because now it's 2 turns. I don't know where I would use this, but 2 turns is better than 1 turn. So that's all I'm gonna say. Awakening wise, it also got an additional single jammer resist. The equip is really awesome in terms of his awakenings alone for Mikage, because it covers the bind resist and the SBR that Mikage lacks. You know, if you're running Alt Shura 2 or Shura 2, you know that there's a preemptive bind on the first turn. So Mikage in his base form doesn't have bind resistance, so you want that, right? So Safi's Drag Shield will provide that, and then once he transforms, he loses his SBR. I don't know if he even had an SBR beforehand. Let me check. Okay, it did not have an SBR beforehand. So if you're running 2 Mikage, right, that you're gonna have 80% SBR unless someone has double. So this allows you to cover that SBR very nicely with 1 equip. So that's why it's really strong. Okay guys, so that's it for the top rarity. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. In the future, I plan to release a review on the middle and bottom rarity cards in the collab, especially because I think the middle rarity is especially strong. Now, of course, I was just looking at the top rarities beforehand. So after talking with some people, I realized the middle rarity is especially strong. So look out for that review in the future. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Take care and good luck and have fun. Bye-bye.